Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Well, my name is Neely, and I am Pastor Mark's daughter, as he said, and I am a second-year student at the University of Arizona. And as he said, I spent majority of my summer in Fiji for 6 weeks. So there's a beautiful picture of that. It was a missions and service internship with Evangelism Explosion. And Evangelism Explosion teaches us exactly how to share our faith with the world around us. So I wanted to open up with asking you 2 questions. And the first question is, if you were to die today, how certain are you that you would go to heaven? The second question is, if you were to die today and stand at the gates of heaven and God were to ask you, why should I let you into my heaven? What would you say? So here's a little cartoon of that. Some of us may have iPhones, and one of our friends on the internship actually asked their iPhone that question. But those were kind of some questions that we lived by this summer, so that's just a little snippet of what we learned this summer. So I stayed in a training center, and here's the view off of my back porch of my training center. I was living with 28 young adults from 10 different countries. All of the countries there were China, India, Mexico, Australia, Fiji, Vanuatu, Kazakhstan, Romania, England, and of course some of you may have heard of the country of America. So I wanted to share with you a brief bit about what we did. The first week we began our own personal EE training and really got to know each other as well as a group. The second week, we headed off to Vanuatu, which is a remote island country in the Pacific, about an hour plane flight away from Fiji. We had a week-long clinic with the locals, teaching them and learning alongside with them how to share our faith. I had the opportunity to go out and share with 3 locals and listen to them share in their native tongue, and it was truly an unbelievable experience. I really bonded with the men I shared with, along with everyone there, and as I left, they showered me with all these gifts, and it was really sweet. I also had the opportunity to share with some children there in Vanuatu, which was really a great experience. We came back to Fiji, and the president of EE, named John Sorensen, who's actually been to our church, taught us and gave us a clinic on mission work and his service experiences with EE. Which was compelling and was really interesting and helpful for all of us interested in that. And shortly after that, we went to a remote village in Fiji and stayed for 2 nights. It was a very humbling experience. I think about all that we have at our fingertips here in America, and these people don't even have showers, much less electronics or cars, and yet they're some of the happiest people that I've ever seen. When we returned back from the village, we began preparing to teach our very own EE clinic in a town about 30 minutes away from our training center called Lautoka. So there we are in Lautoka. And one of my most memorable experiences that I had on the trip was in Lautoka, and I want to share that with you. As we were walking around, going out to share the word with people, and it's a little bit of a different environment there. People are friendly in America, but it's much more open door there. People just invite strangers into their homes for dinner and to talk, and will walk up to you on the streets. And as I was walking down the street with some locals who were kind of showing us around, we were talking about how we could engage in a conversation with someone, how we could find a way to maybe weed in the word and share that with them. And we were just talking about how we were going to do it, and we couldn't really figure out where to go or who to talk to, and we just said, let's just keep walking and see where the Lord leads us. And shortly after that, a couple seconds after that, a man about my age walked up to us and just said "Bula," which is hello in Fiji, and starts talking to us in English and asking us all these questions, and we kind of knew right then, okay, this is the one. And so in a way, God kind of sent him to us instead of God sending us to him. And we ended up having a long conversation with him, just talking about everything that he does, and we eventually launched into the gospel with him, and he was just so interested and intrigued, and we went through everything we learned, and by the end of it, I asked him if he wanted to accept it, and he said yes. And I wouldn't trade that experience for anything in the world. The next day, he actually came to our clinic, and the very next day, he was out on the streets sharing the word with some of his friends. So Thank you. So after that week in Latoka, we had our final week, and we had a theologian come and speak to us about theology, which was compelling and a great time for us to ask all kinds of questions about that as an internship and grow close together. So overall, this was, and his name is Sisa, the one that we led to Christ, and that's him. After these past 6 weeks, these 6 weeks were some of the greatest 6 weeks of my life. I wouldn't trade that for anything. Our team from all over the world truly became a family, and we still keep in great contact. Most importantly, shortly after I arrived home, one of my best friends called me and was having a panic attack and told me that her life kind of flashed before her, and she kind of realized that she's getting older and she wasn't sure of her destiny or her eternity. And she came to me with all this, not knowing exactly what I had learned over the summer, but just coming to me as her best friend. And I just was kind of counseling her, giving her advice, and began sharing with her everything I had learned over the summer about God and how much He loved her, and the importance of Christianity. And eventually, by the end of the conversation, I asked her if this was something she wanted to accept, and she said yes, and I led her in a prayer to receive Christ. So if I learned nothing else from this internship, if all it was for me to share that with my best friend, then that was enough, because if I had not been on this trip, I wouldn't have known what to say to her, and I might not have had that opportunity. And she posted this on her phone. She made a little event about her spiritual birthday, and so there that is. But I just think it's so important as Christians that we know how to share our faith with others, and I think it's our duty, and honestly the most important thing we can do. I think that we're called to it, and this is why I think EE is so important, and it is a tool that we should all know how to use. And so we actually are starting EE up this coming Wednesday, so I would love for anyone to come who's interested. And I am also working on furthering EE with teens and college students my age, as well as hopefully working with kids EE here. And I wanted to leave you with 2 Bible verses. The first one is Mark 16:15, which says, "And he said unto them, Go into all the world and proclaim the gospel to the whole creation." The next is Matthew 9:37-38. It says, "Then he said to his disciples, The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest." Thank you.